Slaves aren't born, they're made. You take somebody who is free and you subject them to a daily breaking process. That's how you create a slave. Another way to look at it is a slave is someone who waits for someone else to free him. To put this in terms of economics, a slave would be someone who waits for somebody else to change their circumstances. White supremacy has stolen much of the world's wealth and dug in its heels. And that being the case, they are not going to be defeated easily, though they will be defeated if we are persistent. And they are not going to go down without a fight. They slaughtered hundreds of millions, mostly of our ancestors, in order to get their ill-gotten gain. And it should not surprise you that they're stumbling and bumbling over their own shoelaces in the face of the coronavirus. White supremacy has never been smart. It's never been prosperous. It has never carried out any sort of effective government. It's a cabal of gangsters who divvy up their ill-gotten gain, their stolen loot, amongst themselves. And we need to be honest about this next point. What white supremacy has tried to inculcate and indoctrinate us to believe is white supremacy's genius or brilliance is, truth be told, the sad reality is that it's a complete and thorough lack of response on the part of white supremacy's victims, because of the fact that we have not given a vigorous or persistent response of defiance and objection to what white supremacy has done. Because we haven't fought back, white supremacy can just sit here and tell itself any manner of lies that it wants. White supremacy never gets tired of psychologically masturbating. It never gets tired of patting itself on the back. More and more attention is beginning to turn toward the November election. And as we've explained to you, you have a choice between the right wing of white supremacy and the left wing of white supremacy. Which, when you look at the attitude of Donald Trump, who ever since the 70s has been violating black people's rights when it comes to housing, and Joe Biden, who ever since the 70s has been violating black people's rights when it comes to education, when it comes to the so-called criminal justice system, and in every other means that he's managed to be able to put on the books. So when you look at the racist anti-black attitude of Trump vis-a-vis the racist anti-black attitude of Joe Biden, you see that it's a distinction without a difference. You can vote either for the brash, in-your-face bigot or the stumbling, bumbling, mumbling, in-your-face bigot. I don't know about you, but I think it's rather stupid to have an argument about which flavor of white supremacy you prefer. I got a better idea. Why don't we put black empowerment on the menu? Because right now, when you choose from the candidates the white supremacy puts in front of you, you're not going to have justice, you're not going to have empowerment. No matter which one of them wins, you lose. And that's the sorriest commentary on anyone who calls themselves voting. When you vote, you're supposed to win. The policies you want are supposed to win. When you vote, you're supposed to get something. That's what voting is about. Otherwise, why shouldn't people take up arms and just take what they want? It's supposed to be some sort of organized system of government in which the people all have a say. And a say in what? A say in who gets what. Bill Moyer said that the entire point of voting is to decide the winners and the losers. That's what he said. The entire point is to decide who gets what, who wins and who loses. And black folks for too long have been comfortable. I don't know how we did it, but somehow we have acquired some level of comfort with just being the perpetual losers. We're not expecting to get anything. We just show up. Well, it's time for that to change. The white media is not going to be doing any scare talk with this coronavirus. It does us absolutely no good whatsoever for there to even be a cure or some sort of substantive treatment for this tomorrow morning. It doesn't change our position economically, and the economics are what matters. Why, if black people had been in a stronger position economically, why, I'm willing to bet you a lot of these problems could have been averted. Because black people who are free to act in their own self-interest, many of us black folks who actually see what's coming down the road long before it gets here, would have already taken steps to insulate ourselves. But again, culture requires resources. To be able to have any sort of substantive protection and provision for yourself or those around you requires resources. It always comes back to the resources, which when it comes to economics means the money. So no, we are not going to allow the white media to get us worked into a lather as to, oh, well, this coronavirus thing, lives are at stake, lives are at stake. Well, hell, they've been at stake for 500 years. Our lives have been at stake for 500 years, getting snuffed out every day. You think you're going to sit here and say that black people are disproportionately dying from the coronavirus, and I'm supposed to sit there and go, oh my God, I got to do something. I know, I'll vote for Joe the Bigot Biden. Black people are disproportionately incarcerated, even though the rate of crime for black people is in most instances lower than it is for white citizens. And yet black people are the main ones who get arrested, the main ones who get charged, the main ones who get put on trial, and the main ones who get convicted, and the main ones denied parole. You look at any sort of stat that you want, black people, when it comes to things that are harmful or deleterious, the society is able to inflict upon us. Black people are disproportionately represented when it comes to those who are harmed, who are suffering, who are dying. So the coronavirus is not going to make me jump out of my skin and go, oh my God, what am I going to do? It does not change what is our political stance. The permanent political stance of the former slaves is tangibles. Oh, well, there's already been some money given, so the hell what? It ain't tangibles unless it's only for us, with the stated goal of leveling the economic playing field. And we know that we're going to have to bend white supremacy's stiff neck. And they're not going to do it willingly, but the bastards are going to do it. And we are not going to allow any naysayers. We're not going to allow any murmurers among us to try to talk us out of it or to otherwise say what cannot be done. The loser class, the fools who are looking for a comfortable place under white supremacy, they can always be counted on to say, that can't be done. What they're really saying is don't do that. They think to themselves that they are white supremacy's pets, so they're cool with that. Well, we're not. I have pointed out to you an article that had been going around by the white media. Mostly, it pretty much started with the Associated Press. Hold your nose and vote. So the Aryan propagandists, the same ones who took out a lawsuit trying to figure out if they could dig up dirt on Trayvon Martin, they're at it again as usual. This is basically the white media telling people, hey, if you guys are thinking about disengaging from this racist political fraud we've been putting up, if you guys, because we know that if you guys will do this in the middle of an epidemic, that means that there is something so important going on that even what the white media tells you is an existential threat isn't going to get you off of it. You're damn right. We are much more interested in obtaining what we should have had for 500 years than we are in letting anyone tell us that, well, you need to be more concerned about your life. My tangibles are my life. So no, I'm not going to be distracted. No, I'm not going to be intimidated. And no, I'm not going to find something else to do. And I'm not putting the tangibles on hold. That mission does not change. I just find it kind of strangely ironic. The coronavirus came from China. If you read Sun Tzu's book, The Art of War, one of the things that he points out is that if you have a commander who's dealing with a foreign army, one of the things that Sun Tzu said can be done, he gave a parable. He gave a parable about how a general sent a small contingent of his troops to attack this invading patrol of enemy soldiers. And what happened was, he said, one of two things is going to happen. Either way, we're going to learn something from it. One of two things will happen. If the opposing force gives chase to my men and chases after them just because a few of them came and attacked, what that means is these guys are basically no better than marauders. They don't have a central plan. They're just trying to snatch whatever they can, and they're just basically out here. They're basically out here roaming for the most part. There is no game plan. There is no discipline among them. They're just jumping at the first thing they see. On the other hand, if they do not give chase to my men, if they do not break formation and just pursue, if they instead keep in formation and continue marching toward whatever their objective is, that tells us something too. What it tells us is they are organized. It also tells us that they have a core goal that they're going for and that they are not going to be deterred. What it means is these guys came here for a purpose. They didn't just show up because they're hoping to snatch something. Sun Tzu wrote about that over 2,000 years ago. And you know what? He's right. He was absolutely right. White supremacy is attempting to find that out with us. Does this black empowerment sphere truly have an overarching goal that is more important? Or can we throw something at it? Can we throw a curveball at them and see if they break ranks? Do they break formation? We're not breaking ranks. We're not breaking formation. We know exactly what our goal is, and we're going to continue toward that goal. But what white supremacy is doing is they're sending in their propaganda arm and saying, well, you need to hold your nose and vote. Vote for the lesser of two evils. Nah, forget about that. Too many idiots have been voting for the lesser of two evils, and all they've been getting is nothing but evil. It's time to put good on the ballot. And we're not waiting for somebody else to put it there. We're going to put it there ourselves, either because we feel the candidates ourselves or because of the fact that we are going to destabilize the system to the point that it will have no choice but to do something. Yes, this will be in large part about forcing white supremacy to do this evil, wicked system to do some things it wasn't designed to do. But that's going to come down to you and me, how persistent we are. We are not going to take up a begging posture, and we are not going to compromise. Now, one of the things that was pointed out in this article, and you notice how you got our old friend, Alexandria Ocasio-Horseface, standing next to Bernie Sanders. And that's for a purpose, by the way. The white media is trying to figure out if they're not able to, if the establishment is not able to put AOC in her place, that's okay. She's already made it very clear that she's willing to get in line. Or haven't you noticed that she's piped down some of her more iconoclastic firebrand rhetoric? She's beginning to moderate. Oh yeah, she's doing her own little pivot. Maybe somebody let her know that her political career could come to an end a lot sooner than she likes if she doesn't get in line and learn to not speak out of turn. But I had posted that particular article on my Twitter feed for a specific reason, because when you find the portion of this piece that actually talks about Alexandria Horseface, one of the things that it points out is they call her the future of the progressive movement may rest with leaders, such as Alexandria Horseface. Leaders. What the hell is she a leader of? Oh, she's got her squad. Oh, you mean with that house Negro, Ayanna Pressley? And also with that, maybe she's committing incest. Maybe she isn't Ilhan Omar and that Arab woman whose name I can't remember because she ain't important. She's just a person in the band. But you got Alexandria Cortez. She's the leader. Yeah, the leader of some dumb Negroes who apparently think that anybody lighter skinned than themselves ought to be leading them around by the nose. But in an interview with the Aryan propagandist, Horseface urged Biden to take seriously both, quote, young voters and Latinos. Oh, so when Alexandria Horseface had a chance to speak with old Jim Crow Joe Biden, she didn't say, you need to take the concerns of black and brown communities seriously. Oh, she wasn't talking no black-brown stuff now, was she? See, when she was talking to old Al Sharpton and the National Action Nitwits, she was talking black and brown. What she was doing was she was making sure to mention Latinos, brown folks. She was trying to interject her interest into a black arena. And of course, with that revolt so-called virtual summit hosted by P. Diddy, or should I say P. Dimwit, you had her and Al Sharpton and Van Jones and Angela Rye with lettuce and tomatoes on the side. And here she is. They got her situated at the top of their little get-together. What does that tell you? You got these Negroes who are looking for somebody lighter skinned than themselves to rule over them. And don't think that Horseface didn't recognize that. So she comes in and all of a sudden, oh, it's all about black and brown communities. But when she talks with the Aryan propagandist and she says, well, what did you and Biden talk about? She goes, well, I told him he needs to take the concerns of young voters and Latinos seriously. When it came time to talk about a racial group, she didn't say no black and brown anything. She didn't even say brown and black. She just said Latinos. That's it. She was not there to represent black and brown anything. She wasn't there to represent people of color. She wasn't there to represent minorities. She wasn't there to represent the inner city. She wasn't there to represent disadvantaged communities. She was there to represent Latinos, period. That's who she was there for. Oh, that black-brown alliance, that sure was a brilliant idea, wasn't it? Oh, man, the more that time goes by, these idiots who've been talking all this black and brown stuff, they wind up looking more and more and more stupid. To continue, Alexandria Horseface said, I just want to make sure that we have a winning electoral strategy. There you go. We. When she says we, she means her and Jim Crow Joe Biden. That's who she's talking about. Make sure we have a winning electoral strategy. Oh yeah, Alexandria Horseface, far as she's concerned, she's petitioning for a position now. She don't want to go back to having to wait tables or having to pour drinks as a bartender. Man, she's made it to Capitol Hill, far as she's concerned. Give her a little bit of time. If she figures out how to actually type something out, if she eventually learns how to read and write at a first grade level, why, she might be able to set up her own little consulting business and start making some money the inside the Beltway way. That's what she's thinking about as far as she's concerned. Hell, she ain't trying to go back to being no bartender. She's arrived. At this point, it's time for her to get paid off. After all, this is her reward for services rendered. And I'm sure that they've already had the talk with her. I'm sure that Nancy Pelosi's already put her on notice. Either you get with the program or you'll be getting out. Please don't think that you're so precious that we can't find some other pliable Latina, preferably one who doesn't have such an enormous Mr. Ed overbite, to put in your slot. Don't think that it can't happen. Don't think you're so precious to us that we can't do without you. We've been running the country a lot longer than you have. We were here before you and we'll be here long after you're gone and forgotten. Or you play ball and what'll happen is, the Latinos get some of what they want. And we'll be doing it at black people's expense. The racial hierarchy must be maintained, and to which Alexandria Horseface said, that's exactly what I want too. Don't throw me in with the blacks. Don't let me in with the blacks. Are you sure, Alexandria? After all, you've got some black ancestry. That doesn't make me black. And finally, she goes on to say, and if that strategy is 100% more affluent suburban voters, that's fine. Oh, gee, now ain't that interesting? You got this woman who's gone from talking about Latinos to talking about more affluent suburban voters. Now, I told you about, and some of you hardheads out there who ain't got the sense that God gave a cantaloupe, you wanted to argue when I pointed out that the swing vote that helped Alexandria Horseface to get into Congress was actually a bunch of white, upper middle class people who had moved into her district because they were priced out of Manhattan. Well-to-do white youth. So as far as she's concerned, that's her constituency too. She sees herself as being an ersatz white woman. So when she talks about affluent suburban voters, in her mind, she's thinking that's my kind of people because they're not black. After all, that doesn't make me black. She sees herself as being white. And just to make sure that she sends the message loud and clear, hey, I'm willing to bang the drum for Latinos, but not to the point where it would offend anyone from thinking that I'm working against white supremacy. She then goes on to double down and say, perhaps districts and communities like mine aren't as important, but I would like them to be, and I think that they should be, and I think young voters matter. That's dog whistle language. If the party chieftains go ahead and give her a position, make her into a chairperson of some committee or something, if they give her a committee chairmanship, they go ahead and break her off a little something, well, she'll start delivering those brown votes. And all of that Justice Democrat stuff that she's been doing, she'll begin to gravitate away from that. Oh, yeah, she will be the Latina equivalent of Barack Obama to the Justice Democrats. All those young white folk who were thinking for themselves that they were going to leverage a position for themselves, well, she'll make sure that they get let down real easy. But in the meanwhile, she's going to be making sure that all of those young people who thought of her as being some sort of mascot for a different way in Washington and who thought to themselves that she was just the beginning of a wave of change, well, she's going to make sure to let them down real easy and do it in a way where they don't all go running. They don't just throw up their hands and say, oh, we should have known she was just another lying bastard. She's talking about her own constituency, saying, well, perhaps my constituency is not as important, but I would like them to be. Yeah, that's her sending a dog whistle to the powers that be. You take care of me, and I will make sure not to cause you any trouble. I've already made my peace with the fact that the machine is too big for one loudmouth, horse-faced, cross-eyed heifer to be able to change. And if you go ahead and take care of me, I'll play ball. That's what she's saying. She's backing away from, she's not being so strident with that Latino thing. Sure, she's repping it, but she's understanding when you're talking to the white massa, you want to be very careful about that. It doesn't pay to be too strident with your language. It pays to just to say it once or twice because you got to say it for appearance's sake. But you don't want to overplay your hand. After all, the thing that Kamala Harris found out was that white voters didn't like the sight of a woman of color calling herself reprimanding a white man, and they won't take too well to a wannabe white woman who calls herself basically pushing the interests of non-whites too hard. If you get out there and try to push it too much in their faces, then you'll offend them and they'll just have to get somebody else who doesn't offend their sensibilities. But this is what Alexandria Horseface is doing. When she talks to Joe Biden, it's all about Latinos. And then she's talking about we. She's made common cause with the establishment. And saying, you know what, if you want to prioritize these more affluent suburban voters, that's fine. If you're reaching out to these more affluent suburban voters at the expense of my own constituency, that's fine. Sure, I'll go ahead and give a grumble or two about it, but after all, I'm getting taken care of. I'm on the team now. I'm getting paid by these guys, and they've already let me know that my future's already set long as I play ball, and as far as I'm concerned, it's 9 innings all day. Earlier today, Tariq had retweeted a post from Black Lives Matters of Greater New York. I've never heard of these guys, but they had been given a tweet where they were complaining bitterly about no one other than Alexandria Horseface. And one of their tweets was saying, it is a shame before God that you did not meet with New York Vani, who I suppose is supposed to be Shavana Renee Newsom, before endorsing in the New York 15th congressional race. She co-founded the first group of black people to endorse you. It's not just disrespectful to us, but all black voters in the Bronx. How was this inclusive? Man, there just ain't no cure for stupid, is there? Now you know why it is you never saw me palling around with Black Lives Matters. Because these guys are a bunch of unthinking clods. I pointed out to you over 2 years ago when Horseface won office. I was like, why is the white media talking about this woman? She has not reached out to black voters, and she didn't. When she was running for office just 2 years ago, she wasn't reaching out to black voters. She was not promising black voters anything. When she won office, she didn't even have the decency to mention any black people, didn't mention black voters, didn't give thanks to black people. And here you have these fools saying that this Shavana woman, she was among the first group of black people to endorse Horseface. Well, that's a fool right there. You don't endorse anybody who has not made it clear what they're going to do for you, who has not taken a pledge specifically to black people. But Black Lives Matters, of course, is a white, mostly LGBT front group. So as far as they're concerned, as long as you got transgender bathrooms, that's pretty much all they need. But this woman had not said a damn piddling word about black people, and here they are just now figuring this out. Why, we endorsed you, and we helped you get into office, and we were passing out flyers for you, and we were backing you to the hilt, and you just ignored us. Yeah, she's been ignoring you for 2 years, stupid, and you just now figure that out. Yeah, now that you got one of their own, one of these idiots trying to run for office, they're expecting that Horseface was going to reciprocate. She ain't said a damn word about black people, didn't give a mention of black people, gave no thanks to black people, has completely and thoroughly ignored black people. Oh, but you were just so sure she was going to endorse you. That's how you know you got these white supremacist front groups like Black Lives Matters and some of their bootlicks who think that they're on the team. So as far as they're concerned, one hand washes the other. We're going to distract from black people's legitimate interest. And no matter how much they may give lip service to things like reparations, they ain't really about it. Because if they were, then they would be on the exact same page as the black media. But just goes to show they think that they can appropriate our language, appropriate our verbiage, try to imitate the wording that we use in our lingo. And apparently that's going to fool people, and it doesn't. And one of the things that I reposted, because I thought that this was of particular interest to me, one of their little, in their litany of Twitter gripes, they posted, as per the website, your political action committee, Courage to Change, has endorsed 5 candidates across the country. Not one of your endorsees, black woman or a black man. News reports confirm that you endorsed 2 additional candidates, and neither of them are black either. Yeah, these guys thought that she was gonna take care of them. What they figured was, hey, she's gonna do right by black people. After all, we supported her, and this woman, Alexandria Horseface, is a blatant, strident, anti-black racist. I've been saying that for years. How the hell you got a freaking Hispanic woman who lives in the Bronx of all places, and she does not give thanks to black folks for getting her into office? That lets you know she is as die-hard anti-black racist as Donald Trump. Far as she's concerned, she's looking at black people and going, now how are we going to get these niggers out of here? That's what Alexandria Horseface is thinking. And for those of you, and I am not so naive as to think that there's none of you, that not all of you are simple-minded enough to actually try to put some measure of credit and faith into Black Lives Matters. Well, now you see why it is that it's a stupid idea to be running around with them. Look how long it took them to figure out the most pig-simple thing in the world. You want to know why it is that Black Lives Matters hasn't produced a damn thing? It's because these clowns, for the few people who might actually be genuinely interested in some sort of political empowerment, these guys are so politically immature and, truth be told, politically stupid, they're not going to produce a damn thing. If these guys are running around playing this game of we're going to have some black-brown alliance and we're going to have all of these coalitions and we're going to be everybody's buddy and people are going to support what's good for black people because we have supported them, they're going to do us a good turn in favor. That stuff, we've been doing that crap for the last 150 years. That is a strategy that doesn't work. Because what happens is everybody else, we always let them sucker us into the, why don't you niggers back our agenda first? And we'll all be brothers in the struggle. And what happens is black folks are like, yeah, we'll go ahead and back what you want first. And then you'll go ahead and back what we want, right? Well, just back us first and we'll get back to you about that other thing. And what always happens is as soon as these other groups get what they want, they're gone in the wind. They've gotten what they want. Black folks are sitting there holding the bag. And Black Lives Matters of Greater New York, here they are with the same old hard luck story, the same old sob story about how one of their would-be non-black allies left them holding the bag, left them in the dust, got what they wanted, and then walked off. I have no sympathy for them. You're a new fool or an old fool if you couldn't see this one coming. And this Shavonna Newsom woman, I don't know who the hell she is. She strikes me as being a kind of D. Ray McKesson kind of individual, like Andrew Gillum, or like, what's her name, Stacey Abrams, just one of these Negroes who thinks to themselves that they're going to have a power base, and after that, they'll be running around like Ayanna Pressley. It's going to be all about let's take care of immigrants, and let's take care of all these other groups. No, unless you have come to the black media, and you have made it very clear that you're on the side of the good guys, unless we know you, you can't just pop up out of nowhere and say, oh, I'm going to say reparations, and that's going to certainly get your support because I say reparations. Nah, you don't just use our words and then think, here we go. It don't work like that. First thing's going to happen is we're going to go ahead and do a little background check on you. We're going to check your papers. We're not taking your word for anything. What do we know about you? Not much, and what we do know ain't no damn good. You see, over here in the black media, we judge you by the company you keep. And as soon as I see you palling around with Black Lives Matters, I'm like, well, hell, if you're so dumb that you can't understand that that's a do-nothing organization, a sock puppet for white supremacy, then you're too stupid for me to even have you around. You will not be a good soldier for black empowerment, and truth be told, you're going to be a double agent because it won't be long before you run around talking stupid. I mean, hell, all you got to do is look at the Twitter tweet that BLM Greater New York put up, and what's at the bottom of her little list? She thought she was going to slip this in here. Relief for Puerto Rico. Now, isn't Alexandria Horseface of Puerto Rican descent? And then they got that basic income $1,000 a month. Man, that's Jeff Yang kind of talk. That's that freaking Jeff Yang thing. I'm sitting here going, man, this is some idiot, some fool trying to do some half-ass coalition building, the same old garbage. You can sit there and talk about how Alexandria Horseface did you wrong, but you're setting up to be manipulated by Jeff Yang, who has yet to say anything about the systematic widespread abuse of black people by Asian Americans in the U.S. or by the Chinese abroad. Jeff Yang ain't got nothing to say about that, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to be echoing and cutting and pasting one of the main planks of his rotted, termite devoured political platform. This is stupid talk. But it just goes to show that there are some black folks who are so determined that they're going to hold on to the rotted, desiccated husk of the Black-Brown Alliance that even when they get slapped in the face, Alexandria Horseface spits in their eye. And instead of them saying, you know what, we get it now. We have been on a fool's errand. We have been chasing a unicorn that doesn't exist. Instead, it becomes, you, Alexandria, you did us wrong. How is this inclusive? Yeah, you're looking for some freaking sympathy. You're looking to see if you can get her to feel sorry for you, and apparently she's going to discover religion. These jackasses, they just are too damn stupid to know that they have been played. But as with all cons, the way that a con woman like Alexandria Horseface gets over on a mark, you let the mark con themselves. That's how you do it. As soon as you start talking that dumb stuff about a Black-Brown alliance, you have just put on a neon sign over your empty head that says, yoo-hoo, gullible fool here, take advantage of me. And that's exactly what they'll do. I don't feel sorry for these clowns from Black Lives Matters, Greater New York. I don't feel sorry for these idiots. They played the fool and got played for fools. That's what happens when you are habitually stupid, when you refuse to learn from the mistakes, when you refuse to listen to those who know things, when you decide that you're going to sit here and be dumb for no reason, then what happens is you look like an idiot. But let this stand as a lesson to you, because this Shavana Newsom woman, or whomever it is that she's palling around with, it won't be long before she's trying to find out how to say to black people, oh, I finally realized we have got to take care of ourselves and we can't be depending on others. And she'll say that to you because she thinks that will sound good to you. And as soon as she thinks she's got your nose open, as soon as she thinks that you're starting to go for the con game, then here, next thing you know, relief for Puerto Rico. How about Jeff Yang as one of our advisors? Don't forget the Black-Brown Alliance. Well, Alexandria Horseface, she doesn't speak for all Latinos. You can't judge them all by her, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be, and we can't let Donald Trump, and what about Mike Pence and all the rest? It'll be the same old, same old. No, we care about your track record. And we also care about what positions you've taken in the past. All of these Johnny-come-latelys and these people who think that they're going to imitate some of the verbiage they've heard us say, and here we go, not even. But this is what's been going on just in the last 24 hours or so. Got that article saying, hold your nose and vote? That's about the same as telling people to shut up and vote. That's basically what's going on here. Because at no point do they talk about what it is that Jim Crow Joe Biden's going to be doing for black people, or for any constituency really. Just a continuation of the status quo. Well, hell, in that case, then you might as well let old President Tangerine remain in office if nothing's going to change. But this is the white media trying to condition people, hey, we know that you might think the white supremacy is a little shaky right now, but don't you go rocking the boat. No, we need to rock the boat. Make that damn thing capsize. Later on in that article, you had a young man, a Latino, who was quoted as saying that he had to vote for Biden mainly because, well, in a democracy, you never have wins. You have compromises, he said. I guess I must compromise. You see, that's the point that the white media want to get to. That's the point that the Aryan propagandists want to get to. In case anybody out there, especially in these economic dire straits, in case you're thinking to yourself that it's time for a radical change, nothing too radical, mind you. Oh, you need a change just so long as nothing changes. You need to vote for Biden, but he's not going to tell you what the world he's going to do. You need to have an electoral victory, even though you will not actually win anything. You have to compromise. You have to compromise. That was the word that they wanted to reach. You know, I have two observations about that. The first comes from Frederick Douglass. When talking about the Missouri Compromise, look it up. In his autobiography, Frederick Douglass poo-pooed that entire idea, and one of the things he pointed out was, as he beautifully put it, like all compromises, it defeated itself. That's what Frederick Douglass thought about compromising. Compromise is another word for defeat. What is it that Jason Black has always said to you? Unapologetic and absolutely uncompromising. Secondly, if you're voting but you're not going to get any wins, then that means you don't live in a democracy, stupid. The entire point of voting is to win. That's the reason why you do it. Why the people fought and died for your right to vote? Yeah, they fought and died for your right to vote, so you can't get anything, so you don't win anything. What's the point of voting if you don't expect to win? The point of voting is for policies you want to be enacted. You want your policies to prevail. You want your policies to win. If you're voting but you don't expect to win anything, that makes you a damn fool. But what it just goes to show is the white media is already planting the seeds. They're already beginning the early groundwork. Just this early, they're already laying the foundation for getting the Latinos mentally prepared, grooming them to be an underclass. Oh, once the Negroes' numbers have been culled or reduced, as we continue to intensify the slow-moving genocide against the black folks, oh, well, the Latinos shouldn't be getting any ideas that racial hierarchy is going to start to change. It won't. It's going to be just like in Latin America. You guys will be at the bottom there, too. In the U.S., they're preparing the exact same thing. Oh, but you'll feel like you're on the team because you get to see Alexandria. That doesn't make me black, horseface, standing next to Joe Biden. And they don't even see it. This is the kind of mentality that the left wing of white supremacy wants. This is what they're trying to indoctrinate. Sheep who do as they're told. Just a bunch of mindless lemmings who don't demand anything, who don't require anything of any so-called candidate for office. You're not putting pressure on anyone. You're not getting in their face. You have no list of demands. Hell, beaten down losers who don't even have the spirit or the will or the guts to object to how they're being ignored, how their interests are being completely and thoroughly maligned and sidelined and just thrown to the side. Hell, we've gotten to the point now where Biden doesn't even have to say, he doesn't even have to talk around your interests. You just come in the door going, I know he ain't going to do anything I want. I'll go ahead and vote for him anyway. Now, you see, you can see that in other groups. You're looking at this and going, man, this Latino guy sounds dumb as hell saying, I don't expect to win anything, so I guess I got to vote anyway. I'm not expecting to win anything. See, when you see other people talking that stupidly, you look and go, man, that's a new fool. But how many black people talk like that? How many black people have been saying, as all the way back in 2015, oh, man, we know Hillary ain't going to do nothing for us, but we can't be letting Trump in there. We got to do this. Yo, we ain't going to get none, but we got to. What about Obama in 2008? Yeah, I know he hasn't pledged anything to us, but we got to. He will when he gets in there. And when he didn't, what about his reelection? Well, we got to vote for him because he'll do something in his second term. Has he said that he'll do something for us in his second term? Well, he hasn't. But you know, we can't be letting Mitt Romney get in there. It's too dangerous. And as for Hillary, yeah, she ain't pledged nothing, but we can't let Trump in there. And now it's, well, what about Biden? Yeah, he ain't pledged nothing, but we can't let Trump stay in there. And you see how it works. Like a hamster on a treadmill. That's the way that it's set up. You're not supposed to actually get what you want. It's just going to be the same old con being run over and over again. And that's how they mentally break you. That is someone who's been mentally broken when they have just been so broken down to the point that they're sitting here going, I got real concerns. I got interests that must be answered. It must be carried through on. It must be fulfilled. And this guy here is demanding my vote, and he's saying it's very important, and he's saying that the fate of the country's at stake. And I know how important my interests are, but, I'm going to vote for this guy, even though he's made it clear he's not going to do anything for me. And you see, in a democracy, you shouldn't expect to get anything. You shouldn't expect to have any victories. You shouldn't. The voters should not expect any victories. The proletariat should not expect any victories. The plebes should not expect any victories. You just compromise. Yeah, but the thing is, Jim Crow Biden, he's not compromising on anything. In order to have a compromise, that means both sides must sacrifice something. What the hell is Jim Crow Joe sacrificing? What the hell is he giving up? What is he losing at? He says to you, I want the presidency with no strings attached. You sit there and go, well, I ain't going to get nothing, so I'll go ahead and vote for you anyway. Well, what the hell did he give up? He got everything he wanted. You got nothing. So where's the compromise? This is how the white media brainwashes people. This is what the white media's job is, social engineering. You condition people through mindless repetition that the sensible position is, well, you've got to be pragmatic. Hold your nose and vote. This is not an article. This is indoctrination. Hold your nose and vote. That's what they're getting across. And you got these people who are so dejected, so robbed of spirit because they're listening to people like Alexandria Horseface. And they're believing that she's some sort of firebrand, some sort of radical, when she is nothing more than a buck-toothed, bug-eyed, freaking self-centered clown. And these mindless sheep who have been following after this demented, sick, satanic shepherd, here they are at long last, having abandoned any sort of pretension that she's going to actually be doing something other than being no doubt a symbol of Latino achievement as she sees it. And they will make excuses for how they're being ignored and mistreated. An electorate who will just sit there and take it. Obedient serfs who just shut up and vote. Don't object to the fact that Biden's ignoring your concerns. Don't say, you know what? I'm digging in my heels. If this election's so important to Jim Crow Biden, tell him that he's going to have to come to terms with this. If he does not pledge to do what we want, then what the hell's the point in voting for him? Might as well let Trump stay in there. Oh, he'll wreck the country. Well, from the sound of things, you're not going to do anything about it anyway, so what's the difference? No, black people cannot afford to be so simple-minded. We cannot afford to be so gullible. 4 years ago, you had no one but the black media, just a lone voice in the darkness, telling everybody, hey, what are you scared of a Trump presidency for? Oh, black folks gonna get hurt more than Obama's allowed black people to be hurt. Obama sits down and has beer with white supremacist racists who rough up his friends. Barack Obama calls black people who fight against police brutality thugs. When the police are gunning black people down the streets, Barack Obama signs some asinine presidential executive order, a Blue Lives Matters executive order. Barack Obama doubles down for white supremacy, and he's sitting here co-signing the mass murders of black people. Dylan Roof murders 9 parishioners and their pastor, and what does Barack Obama do? Does he declare a war on white supremacy? No, instead he goes to the church and sings a couple of bars of Al Green. And you were scared of Trump. I'm like, well, what the hell is Trump going to do that Obama hasn't already done? I would have been more surprised if anything else. Oh man, Trump did something that Obama wasn't doing. Man, give this guy some points for creativity. No, they had already been beating us upside the head and shooting us in the streets and violating our rights in every conceivable way. Trump was not going to do anything different. Perhaps he could do more of the same, but it wouldn't be anything different than what we'd already had. And what happened, what we saw instead was Trump's going after a lot of other people in addition to us. We're still having to be brought in for some abuse, to be sure. But the thing about it is, everybody else is having to come in for some abuse too now. Now they get to see, for a few minutes, they get to see what it's like to be us. And if they want to if they want to get their old position back, then they will have to come to terms with black empowerment. We have demands, and we're not compromising on it. We're not going to the polls without a victory for black empowerment, and that victory has to be baked into the cake. We're not leaving it up to chance. We're not doing any more of this daydreaming about democracy stuff. We're not doing any more of this pie in the sky and we'll go along with these good white liberals say and hopefully something will change down the road. To hell with that. We're not going to be mindlessly going to the polls voting for Jim Crow Joe Biden. And if Trump is out of office, well, hopefully we'll just wait for our interests to be fulfilled later on. No, our interests get fulfilled before we even think about voting for anyone. That's the way it's going to be. This is the new normal. No more of reparations and tangibles being put on the back burner. No more of reparations and tangibles being put on hold. No more of reparations and tangibles. Well, we got to have a study about it. You got to wait for a study, a congressional hearing, perhaps. Nah, you gave all these tangibles. You gave big billion-dollar checks to Asian Americans and to illegal aliens without a study and without a single congressional hearing. So that being the case, good. Now you're going to write the biggest check of all for the people who built this country. No more of this reparations and tangibles for the former slaves being put on hold, or it's got to be postponed, or you need to wait for it, or perhaps next election. No more of that. It's going to be this election. You want the black vote to come back out, you're going to find out two things. One, there is no substitute for the former slaves' vote. You ain't got the numbers, you ain't got the loyalty, you ain't got the cohesion of the organization. And the second thing you're going to learn, that if the former slaves are not obeyed, then you're the one who's going to suffer. Now, the former slaves, we've suffered long enough. Now it's time for some other folks to feel our pain. But all of this lying to us and you're going to sweet talk us into putting our interest on hold, don't dream. That old black baby boomer generation who would do anything, kiss any amount of white supremacists behind just to get a pat on the head, that generation is burning out and fading out. You got Generation X and the millennials and the post-millennials to be concerned with now. And what you're finding out is this is a new generation. A new generation that's bringing some new rhetoric. We ain't listening to Messy Jesse or Reverend Al or any other group of sellouts who white supremacy propped up and has its hand up their behinds using them for sock puppets. And no, you're not going to be trotting out any group of new sellouts like this Shavona Newsom woman or any of these other clowns. And you won't be having any white supremacist funded front organizations like Black Lives Matters or A-Dunce or any of these other fakers, frauds, phonies, and fools. You see, we are serious about our empowerment. We're serious about our tangibles. We're serious about our resources. We don't vote for nothing. We're not going to hold our nose and vote. We're not going to shut up and vote. We're not going to be taking any compromises. We're barking out the orders because that's what it's supposed to be. You want me to do something for you, you are going to have to reciprocate. Quid pro quo. The black vote is a business transaction, an economic exchange. You drop off the bag first, and then we drop off the ballot. But it's going to go in that order. Without a rock-solid public pledge to our tangibles, no strings attached. You didn't tell those Asian Americans there's going to be strings attached to that billions of dollars for them. Nobody told them, oh, there's strings attached, though. There are hoops to jump through. They just said, okay, here you go. 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 billion dollars. Here you go, just like that. You didn't tell the illegal aliens that there were any hoops to jump through. Oh, with black folks, on the other hand, well, we're not saying anything to y'all. See, that's the thing I told you about with Horseface. Her and Doug Jones, both of those two scumbags, when they won office, they made it a point not to say anything about black people. And the reason why was, especially with Doug Jones, he knew that the reason that he made it to the Senate was because of the fact that black people voted for him. He knew that. So as far as he was concerned, we're not going to set a precedent where I get out here and start thanking black people, because we know that this black media is out here looking to see this, and we're not going to have it where black people start feeling like like they've got political leverage. Black people must be made to feel as if, well, your vote doesn't matter unless there's other people there. See, your vote is part of a coalition. You're no more important than anyone else. So don't go, you niggers better not go getting carried away with yourselves and thinking that you got some sort of leverage. You better not think you got any power, and you better not think you should be demanding anything. You should just be glad for whatever you get. Why, we can completely and thoroughly ignore you, and it doesn't matter, because you guys, you're only important if you got other people with you. It's not like you guys are a swing vote. That's what Doug Jones' deliberate, racist, anti-black ignoring of the black vote when he won office was meant to convey. That's the message he was trying to get across. Oh, you niggers better not go thinking that you matter now, that your votes are important. You better not go thinking to yourselves that, hey, we got you in office and we can get you out of office, so you better do X, Y, Z. You better not go thinking to yourselves that you've got leverage to demand anything. It's all been one gigantic long-form exercise in demoralizing the black vote and convincing us that we are inconsequential, when the truth of the matter is we are holding all the cards, but we've been just too damn timid to play any of them. We do not stick to our guns for anything. White supremacy knows that, and they're testing us now to see if we'll stick to our guns on this one. Now, to be sure, there's some simple-minded Negroes who are always ready to fall for the okie doke, but that's not where B1 comes in. That ain't what black empowerment's about. Don't let this white media get you distracted with this coronavirus thing, okay? You make sure you keep your eye on the ball, and the ball is tangibles. If this fool's coming up to you talking about, oh, Donald Trump, he's big, mean, and scary. Well, not as scary as a future without our tangibles. No matter what it is they bring up, it always comes back to tangibles. Oh, that coronavirus, it's killing a lot of black people. Yeah, and that's the reason why we need $1 trillion check for starters. The first installment will be $1 trillion for the black community. We need the money more than anybody else. So let's talk about that. Well, we can talk about a $1,200 check for everybody. Oh, get the hell out of here then. We ain't talking about everybody, because everybody is not disproportionately dying from COVID-19, so everybody should not be getting equal federal money. The bulk of the money should go to those most affected. That's common sense. See, that's what they're scared of. They're scared of black people speaking for ourselves. Alexandria Horseface had no problem dropping the word black from her vocabulary when it came time to talk to Jim Crow Joe Biden. She was talking about Latinos. And then to double down and make sure that she was currying the favor of her new white buddies, she made it clear, hey, I get it. The white vote is what got me here. White power is what's going to keep me here. And hey, if you guys are trying to put together a voter coalition from young, disaffected white voters, that's fine by me. And if you're going to overlook my constituency, I'm fine with that too. And I won't make a fuss about it. But you know what? Before Alexandria Horseface was being so submissive and being so deferential on it, the Congressional Black Caucus was doing it too. You haven't heard a peep from them. Well, it's way past time that we show everybody that the former slaves do have a voice, and that voice is loud enough to be heard. We have an opportunity to shock the world and let everybody know that the former slaves are standing in their own power and we are not afraid. To let them know that we are motivated by something that the white media is not going to be able to indoctrinate us or be able to manipulate us. Forget it. And when people understand that, when they understand that the former slaves have finally realized the real power that we wield and that it's going to go our way or no way at all, that's when people are going to be forced to have to come to terms with it. But that is going to depend entirely on what we do. We stick to our guns, we show the persistence, and if we organize amongst ourselves, what's going to happen is a lot of these fools like Alexandria Horseface, who's been running around abusing black folks, that heifer will back off once we go ahead and show that we can put some political pain on her. If we're organized enough, we can definitely do that. And as for these black bootlicks who white supremacy thinks that is going to trot out there and get our attention, fools like P. Dimwit, Punk Daddy, whatever his name is. These clowns, these guys are irrelevant. They're irrelevant to the black folks who are actually going to get black empowerment done. Now, for the World Star hip hop crowd, for the Black Lives Matters crowd, for the A-dunce contingent, for the low information Negroes, of course, they're always going to have an appetite for that kind of lowest common denominator kind of stuff, and they're welcome to it. There's no cure for stupid. But as for those of us who actually are about empowerment and serious about it, this is the time for us to show our steel. Black folks do not need to be trying to impress the white media or trying to get some quickie white headlines or a mention on some white website or some white TV show about, oh, the black vote turned out. If we're not getting anything, we'd be damn fools to be turning out for anything. This is the perfect opportunity. This is the right time to show that we're not going to be motivated by any sort of scare talk. Coronavirus is not the front of mind for us. What's front of mind for us are our tangibles, our resources. That matters to us more than anything. And if they come to you and say, well, man, you're throwing your lives away. White supremacy throws our lives away every single moment of every single day. You're not scaring us. But aren't you afraid that you're going to die? White supremacy kills us all the damn day long. So you're not going to be bringing out the scare talk about what white supremacy is going to do. White supremacy is used to Negroes being motivated by fear. White supremacy is used to killing us all day long, abusing us all day long, torturing us all day long, and then saying you better vote or we're going to kill you, imprison you, torture you. No more being motivated by fear, and no more going to the polls and having nothing to show for it. When it comes to the black vote, when we actually decide to go to the polls, it's going to be because we know that we're going to win.